metropolitan area, so getting criminals off the streets and behind bars seems like a never-ending battle. But you can win it by teaming up with Metro Crime Stoppers and Channel 2 News. We show you pictures of criminal suspects, and you can call the confidential Metro Crime Hotline with tips about those wanted people. Channel 2 News and Metro Crime Stoppers need your help tonight finding Wendell Julian Daniels. He's wanted for residential burglary in Annapolis and Anne Arundel County, and police believe he's responsible for a series of burglaries in the Whispering Woods community of Broadneck Peninsula. Daniels, also known as Dell or Church, is 24 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall, weighs about 150 pounds, has a scar over his left eye. Call 276-8888 if you have any information at all about Daniels. You'll not only be helped.
You may not have given it much thought, but our vice cops face an AIDS risk every time they raid places where addicts shoot up their drugs and share their needles. As a special breed of police officer, these agents take these jobs knowing many dangers exist. But AIDS presents a different threat, and there aren't a lot of ways agents can protect themselves. I found that out when I interviewed the head of Baltimore's drug-fighting police force, the Stop Squad's Andre Street.
After you brought the subject up, I've had a few ideas of maybe a better constructed type glove maybe we should look into, but I don't know if that's even feasible. Never even thought about these things until you brought it up.
The head of Baltimore's drug-fighting unit says no one's panicking. This threat of AIDS just goes with the job.
It's not a panic type thing. We're still doing our jobs. We realize that as a police officer, you have to come in contact with all types of people, and you have to deal with all types of problems.
A hallway, apartment, alleyway, or abandoned building can be a place for addicts to shoot up their drugs. When police raid these shooting galleries, they face their most serious threat of the risk of AIDS. And that is, they have to gather needles that are often shared by addicts as evidence. Getting stuck in the past used to possibly mean hepatitis. Today, the risk is AIDS. And about the only protection they have is of being careful.
When you go in a shooting gallery, you'll find syringes everywhere. Now, certainly, we take a lot of precautions when we go into one. I mean, you just don't arbitrarily stick your hands anywhere without first looking. You can find them in seat cushions, because a lot of times when you hit a shooting gallery, you may have 12, 13, 14 people sitting there, and the first thing they want to do is whatever they got in their hand, they want to stash it.
Although police have encountered cases of hepatitis, so far, no reports of AIDS. But that just means any incident with the needle is taken seriously.
You would take the needle and whatever was in the needle, hopefully blood, you know, because a lot of times when a person's injecting themselves, they will draw blood back into the needle, and you would take the syringe and the officer to the nearest medical facility and for examination.
Governor Schaefer wasn't the only one to ascend to higher office today. Clarence "Dew" Burns also moved up. Channel 2's Andy Barth talked with the new mayor and invited him to share his feelings.
Man, let me tell you something. I can say this. Nobody in the whole world feels as good as I do today. Nobody.
Dew Burns says he spent 40 years preparing for this moment, and when it came today, he relished it. He kissed, he smiled, he shook hands, and he made it clear he's in charge.
I'm number one, okay? I'm on my way back to take care of my city now.
After a brief word with Governor Schaefer, Mayor Burns made his way through the crowd. Already, everybody wanted something.
Oh, it's yourself. This is great. This is great. Hi, listen, you got to come see me now.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Mr. Mayor? Nice to see you.
Did you ever think it would happen? I know I did.
Outside, he got ready for his last ride in the council president's modest car. After this, it's the mayor's Cadillac. He would be mayor not only in good times, but conceivably in bad.
There's a crisis of some kind, and it isn't pomp and circumstance, then it's your problem.
I'll deal with it. I can handle anything.
It got so that Tommy III, young Tommy, hated being mayor. Could that ever happen to you?
No.
He'll be sworn in Monday, but he's in charge right now. In Annapolis, I'm Andy Barth, Channel 2 News.
Amazed, in fact, if you're coming from the west at the view down, Hollins and Baltimore, it's becoming a really nice-looking area down here, and I think it's going to attract a lot of people before too terribly long.
The first floor will house a women's boutique, which will be run by West Baltimorean Amelia Moore. Do you think something like this will give a boost of pride in the community, seeing a nice store like this?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. I'm very positive. People look for things like this. They want something to look at and say, oh, maybe one day I could have something like that.
Climb the spiral staircase to the 2nd and 3rd floors, and you'll find newly decorated apartments which will be rented soon.
I think more people will be fixing up the buildings. I noticed that there's one next door to this one that really needs doing, so I think the people will become more involved.
This 3rd floor sun deck overlooks a neighborhood that's very proud of West Baltimore's latest success building story. And residents here are hoping that in the future, there'll be a lot more 31 South Arlingtons in years to come. Tony Pagnotti, Channel 2 News.
Business leaders in the Camden Yard area are concerned they won't get a fair price for their land. As we reported a few months ago, a special sports commission has recommended building a new stadium on the property. This means property in the area would have to be sold to the city in order to make room. The businessmen want to make sure they aren't shortchanged in the deal. They're planning to meet and determine a joint price for the city to buy the land. This way they feel they will be assured of a reasonable price for the land before the city proposes its own deal.
Well, we're still 18 months away from a new Pride of Baltimore, but that doesn't mean the work hasn't already started. Channel 2's Rick Douglas reports the nuts and bolts of shipbuilding involve pulling together a new crew.
What was special about the boat was the people involved with the boat, and that's, I think, is still true. And the people that were involved in that boat will, for the most part, be involved in this new boat.
Randy Hanford is a shipwright. A shipbuilder in the language of people who do that sort of thing. Right now, he's building a boat for a client, but soon he'll be applying his expertise to the construction of a new Baltimore Pride. He'll use a process called lofting, where each piece of the boat is drawn actual size on the loft floor.
On a smaller scale, we'll have to do the same thing as this on the Pride and take these lines, these shapes, and make the frames. We'll actually make the frames to these shapes and bolt them together, piece by piece.
Hanford's job pales when compared to what master shipwright Peter Boudreau will face. Today, he was down at the Inner Harbor inspecting the site where the new Pride's keel will be laid soon.
The city crews are helping us enlarge the site. A ship this size is going to take a site that is about twice as big as what we used on the Lady Maryland. So we're into that right now, and hopefully we'll be well along by the end of the week.
It'll be Boudreau's job to pull together a crew and all the materials to construct a full-scale tall ship. For that, he turned to former Pride crew member Susie Huseman.
I'm the person that will obtain the materials and the equipment that they need, the pieces of machinery, deal with salesmen in Baltimore, and get the supplies together.
What you're asking for is not a off-the-shelf item, and hardly any of the parts are. So every piece is special, and it takes arrangements, and you got to beg, borrow, steal, try to get it somehow.
Rick Douglas, Channel 2 News.
Good evening, I'm Beverly Burke.
And I'm Rick Douglas. A house stripped of furniture, 2 badly decomposed bodies in the basement, a missing housekeeper. These are the elements of a bizarre murder investigation in East Baltimore tonight.
Police were called to this row house in Charles Village this morning after neighbors reported they hadn't seen the occupants in several weeks.
Come to think of it, I've been seeing the papers sit on the porch for the last few weeks.
Sylvia Means said she'd noticed a foul smell in her basement.
I had people come and they said it smells like a dead rat. Something is dead. I mean, I never dreamed.
Beatrice Wallace was shocked, too, when police told her the people at number 314, an elderly brother and sister, were both dead.
They went in the basement, but they told us to stay. And when they got down there, they yelled back upstairs, call homicide. I said, no, they're not dead. He said, yes, they is. And I ran out the house. I couldn't take no more.
Neighbors told us the man, aged 55, and his sister, aged 67, were nice, quiet people, the kind who would sit on the front porch and wave to people passing by. He had worked at Sparrows Point. She had been a nurse at a veterans hospital in Philadelphia. They lived here with a housekeeper, a woman in her late 30s who neighbors say had been moving a lot of furniture out of the house.
She just moved the stuff out Friday. The man was in there dead. And she tell everybody that he moved down Virginia.
And they had one of these great big chandelier lights hanging up in the dining room over the dining room table. And I see them come out of there with that. And they put the old one back up there, what she had before then. But they took everything out of that house.
Along with the furniture, the sister's car is missing. Police tell us they're now looking for the housekeeper. They want to question her about the two murders and about checks that neighbors say carried the sister's forged signature.
That won our annual Black Drama competition. But the playwrights of that play were not the only winners. There was also an honorable mention. Channel 2's Joyce Jefferson reports on the play For Colored Guys Who Have Gone Past Suicide and Found No Rainbow.
A rose sticking through prison bars. That's the cover photo for a play that brings us some tender thoughts from some tough guys. John Mingo, Harry McClellan, and Barry Shabazz. Between the three of them, they're serving more than 100 years here at the House of Correction in Jessup. The play they wrote is called For Colored Guys Who've Gone Beyond Suicide and Found No Rainbow. The prose, at times funny, times bitter, and sometimes touching, reflects on their lives and why they found no rainbow.
Why didn't you tell me, Mama? Little boys need heroes to help them grow into men. You could have whispered names in my crib while I lay awake or sleeping.
Hannibal.
I waged war against the only authority I knew.
Crispus the Tuck.
You, Mama. Why didn't you tell me, Mom?
This play is a project of the Writing Club at Jessup, and it's an answer to the popular Broadway hit For Colored Girls Who've Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough.
I saw different models of women in the book, and there was no treatment of how the men were affected by those type of women, and what was a man's side, what was his point of view. Those things sort of bothered me.
For Colored Guys explores from a male point of view, black, male-female relationships and frustrations of black men in the society. The hope of the playwrights is to see it performed. It tells their story, as does this verse from the play. You say there's a rainbow? I don't see. I guess I'm stoned in the misery. Yeah, I'm bitter. That's how I feel. Though I've escaped, the hurt won't heal. From the House of Correction in Jessup, I'm Joyce Jefferson, Channel 2 News.
That's all for Channel 2.
Very good high school basketball game between Southern and Dunbar last night, and a moving story within the framework of that game. Stanley Braxton probably played the most memorable game of his life last night, not because he scored 14 points, grabbed 7 rebounds, and had 3 steals to lead the Poets over Southern in a squeaker. You see, earlier in the day, his mother passed away after suffering a long time from cancer. Braxton felt that his mother would want him to go ahead and play, so he turned in the spectacular effort and even hit the winning basket. Dunbar and Stanley won by 2, 57-55. And there's the winner. Good one this afternoon. Gibbons against Southwestern. Good one if you're a Gibbons fan. Teamwork Gibbons style. Billy Stanfield to Philip Bronner to Cleon Dickerson for a couple. Brian Brooks throws it away, and Barry Brown takes it the distance. Southwestern's Brian Harris ventures through the land of the trees, and he gets a couple. But this was all Gibbons. Leon Dickerson goes deep to Billy Stanfield for an easy pair, 100-67. Gibbons 6.
Good evening, I'm Beverly Burke.
And I'm Rick Douglas. Topping our news, one for the books, library books. The City Library Board today approved a plan to fund 5 branches scheduled to close. But there's a hitch. The money runs out June 30th, and beyond that, no one knows what will happen.
If they close the libraries, these kids will be unfortunate. You know, when they go home, they have to do their homework. They won't have any place to go to look up and research. And so if they close the library, that's it for our inner city children.
And at the Broadway branch today, the inner city kids knew what was at stake. No money, no place to study, simple as that. Downtown, the library board knew what was at stake too, the reputation of Baltimore City. No one here or at City Hall wants to be a party to the dismantling of the library system. So they voted to keep 5 targeted branches open, at least until June 30th.
The lesson for everyone in Baltimore in this is that when people come together, that changes can be made. That they always say that you can't fight City Hall and win. But this is an example that when people come together, you can fight City Hall and you can win.
Jeff Bigelow claims a partial victory today, for his organization has been petitioning City Hall to keep the doors open at all 31 city libraries. But should the library board be backed against the wall again and forced to close branches to save money, they will have to stick to their original plan.
We're convinced that we have prepared the best document we can in the short run, and so by the end of this fiscal year, which would be, of course, June, we would not have come up with an alternate to what we have proposed.
With public sentiment running high to keep city libraries open, the library board seemed willing to consider more emergency appropriations. But no one was willing to guarantee the future of free libraries.
That's sad. You know, that's real sad. These kids will suffer the most.